button and welcome you all here for this particularly interesting topic that Sheikh is going to speak about, a glimpse into the beyond. My name is Guy Blood, and up until a couple of weeks ago, I was president of the organization, but now I slipped into past president and enjoying the role even more. And it seems to me that listening to you folks, you all know one another, and that's wonderful to see. And we're looking forward to what Sheikh has to say. And before that, though, I'd like to just acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 land. And what does that mean? Well, the indigenous people in the late 1800s got a little nervous because the settlers were coming and killing off the buffalo and reducing their means of survival and intruding on their land. And they sought out the Governor General of the Dominion of Canada to strike an agreement in which they could have some land reserved for themselves and cede the rest of the land and achieve some benefits as well, such as some medicine, some farm equipment, some education, and a little bit of money too. And we have been the beneficiary of that Treaty 6 that was signed way back in the late 1800s. Just want to acknowledge that. And I'm disappointed too that the government of Canada did not, in fact, live up to their promise of providing all those things in a timely manner. And so that's been a constant embarrassment for us that we're still trying to fix with some progress and lots of hesitation. So
well,
with that, I would like to ask Netta, would you introduce our speaker for today? Not that he needs introduction.
Apparently not, since he knows everybody here. He's a very well-connected man, but I will give my introduction because he and I talked about it yesterday. Our friend Sheikh was born in Egypt on September 11th, 1949. I remember that date because he is exactly a month younger than me, and when I mentioned it, he said I could give the date because September 11th was an important day 52 years later for him and many others, of course. I've had the good fortune to visit Egypt twice and marveled at the rich history and culture. But when Sheikh traveled to Europe at ages 19 and 20, he realized that the knowledge ceiling at home was too low, and he came to Canada in 1978. He says this is a country where he feels his presence has been received rather than imposed. If given a lifespan of 90 years, he calculates 30% in Egypt, 40% in Canada, and the final 30% is unknown. One of his main quests is the question of where are we and where we are going. His interest in spiritual education led him to join the Interfaith Center very early on, almost at our inception. He served on our board for several terms and has been a life member for many years. He's been both hospital and university chaplains and discovered that working as a professional interpreter and translator has led him to look deeper into what language really conveys. He believes it takes a universe to raise a child, and the accident he suffered 2 years ago, which you're going to see in a minute, prompted him to peek into the life beyond. So Sheikh, take it away, please.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I think Netta said it all, but because we don't have much time, I will like Guy to start off with the video, please.
Okay, we'll do right now.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Oh my God.
And that's Josh Harnack, who is with us.
Hey. No, call everyone right now. Sheikh, stay there. Stay there, don't move. You okay? Don't move.
And I'll play it again if that's okay with you, Sheikh.
Just let me say, just notice the two barrels that are on the ground that I hit, I think one of them right away. Just notice that because it's very imperative.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Whoa! Hey, 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 hey! No, call 911. Call 911 right now. Shake! Shake, stay! Stay there! Stay there. Don't move, don't move. You okay? You okay? Don't move. 911's on the way, okay? You okay? Breathe, 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 breathe.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question, again, once again, notice that there was a power line that was running at the lower end of the tree. That's why I went so high up. So try to cut the tree into pieces. And the first question that would come to anybody's mind is, so why did he do it?
Exactly.
At age 70, what were you thinking? And from here on, I'd say, do we have a choice in what we do? Or are we predestined to just live the life that is pre-planned for us? And I would answer this question simply by, I did it because I thought I could. It was my choice, and I have to live with the results of that choice, however they come. And this is the predestined part of the equation. You always have a choice. You do whatever you think you want to do, but you have to live with the consequences or die with it. That's what comes across. So from here on, I would go to say, the video that you just seen was news to me when I saw it about a month or so later. That's not what I saw coming down from the sky onto the earth. And here is what I woke up with. I saw myself, I saw the incident as that I am flying down from way above onto the earth, flying down in a bat-like face down as the bats fly down. And what I am seeing underneath me is a green pasture, like a golf course. And in this pasture, there were 4 tombs, 4 burial plots. And in these 4 burial plots, I could sense the presence of my sister, who passed away at age 23 in London, England. My mother, who passed away at age 65 in New York, USA. My brother, who passed away at age 63, again in Florida, USA. And my father, who passed away at age 95 here in Edmonton at age 95, as I said, and was buried here. But I saw all 4 of them laying down, receiving me. The only one I could communicate with was my father. And my communication was very clear, was in English, telling him, I need my brain. Hi, Reda. Just join us. We are in the middle of this. Reda is a friend of mine from Edmonton here. So I was telling my father, I need my brain to get through this. I need my brain. That was the only message and the only communication that I was communicating to my father coming down to earth, that I don't want my brain to be touched. I need my brain. And that's where the vision of that fall ends. But I'm going to bring you to the video and remind you that what you saw was very choreographed into saving my brain, my spine cord, my back. The first landed, I hit the barrel that was there, and that got my right leg right under the knee. So my right chin was shattered. And then I hit the ground, I would imagine on my right shoulder, which was there later replaced completely with an artificial joint. So the right shoulder was shattered as well. But as Josh came to help, called my wife to call 911, and the ambulance was there in time, and everything was taking place while I was somewhere else. I came to about 3.5 weeks later, as the nurses around me were saying, wow, you can speak, you have a voice, you have a nice voice. And they said, what was the issue? And my wife was telling me that as a result of intubation for too long, my vocal cords were damaged enough that I could not say a word. I could just whisper and move my lips. It took that long for the vocal cord to come to life. And it took that long for me to realize what has happened exactly after seeing that video. And then there was the phase of coming back to life from where I was. And here I have to say, I classify that as a near-death experience. I heard and read a lot about the two things, the near-death experience and the out-of-body experience. And I'm gonna take a minute to clarify the difference. What I went through was a near-death experience. If Josh did not react the way he did, and I was left there for longer than I should have, I would be gone for sure. But based on the reaction of Josh and my wife and the ambulance, the first responders, and the whole chain that started to kick in from that on, I am brought back into life. But what does that mean? That means how to really figure out or see what happened. It means that when we go to sleep, our body goes into a dormant state, but then again, our souls go into a dormant state. And they both coincide till we come back into an awakening stage. So, how did that happen in this particular accident? The accident happened on August 3rd in 2020. I went through a number of surgeries that took, as I said, about 3.5 weeks till I came back to awareness. This is Hazem. This is Hazem. There is
Yes,
another
sir.
friend. There is another friend that joined us. It's Hamdi's brother, Hazem, and Hazem is joining us from Cairo, Egypt.
And I just muted him, Sheikh.
Okay, as long as he can hear us, that's all. Thanks. So, anyways, as I said, the accident happened October 3rd, and it was not till 3.5 or a month later that I came to. And then I was right at the stage as a baby. I was being fed through a tube. Everything was being done by the staff around me. And all what I could do, I could just watch and respond and react as much as I can. With the COVID-19 restrictions, I had very limited access to visitors. Only my wife and one of my sons were visiting. So I had access to. Are we good? Yeah, so I had access to spiritual care. Guy, are we good? Or Guy?
Yes, I muted him again.
Yeah, I think we're all good.
Okay, so I had access to spiritual care, and that was really my area of interest. I have access to psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, chaplains, and we had visits throughout my stay in the hospital system. And as I was watching all the stuff, and I am in a baby state kind of thing, only receiving the service and the care, I was amazed how a group of strangers to me can work together in a very collective effort to put me back together so I can walk out again. This is an amazing experience. This whole experience took 4.5 months. A month of them I was unconscious. I thought I was in an induced coma, where my wife told me, no, you were in a state where you can communicate, you ask questions, you respond to questions, but it is completely out of my memory span, which is good in a way because there is no recollection of any trauma that registered with me. And that is a blessing, that till now I have no trauma recollection from that incident. So as I moved from the ICU to the trauma unit in the university hospital, and then as I moved to the Glen Rose for rehab, I was still in a baby state situation where everybody's looking after me. And I really appreciate the whole system that people get together to put somebody back into a functional state. There are some exceptions where I saw people that really don't care. They just are there for the job. But in an all and all feeling, there is a really sense of responsibility for the people, helping somebody that they don't know personally to be back, put back on track to continue on with life. So as I sat in the rest of the time, mainly in the Glen Rose Rehabilitation Center, I started to contemplate, now that my body started to function with limited capacity, but my mind was fully working. And again, the COVID-19 issue was restricting all visitors at that time. All what I had access to the world is through my phone, my smartphone, if you will. And I started to put together, so what is this all about? I usually sleep a few hours every day and wake up and do whatever is demanded for me to do. But what happens when you are in a dormant state for that length of time? You contemplate, you bring in your experience, your knowledge, your history, your hopes for the future, your understanding of what life is all about. And here it is in a nutshell. I figure out that every and each one of us has two entities. There is the physical entity, the body, and there is the spiritual entity, the soul, if you will. These two entities operate together combinedly. They are mainly held up at the brain level. And I'll give you an example. If somebody asks you to look into a particular direction, you look and say, oh, I see. Just look at the two phrases. When you look, this is physical. But when you respond by saying, I see, this is spiritual. This is processing what you're looking at. When somebody tells you, listen, and tells you something, and then you respond by saying, oh, I hear you. Again, listening is physical. Hearing is spiritual. Processing what you listen to. And these two entities, if we cannot really zoom in on what they are, we lose focus. Here I am in an experience where my body was being nurtured back to life. The soul was around there somewhere. The hurt part of this experience was not recorded at all. This was a survival mechanism. And I have to thank my spirituality, if you will. You all know that I am a Muslim. And what you don't know is how much I divulge into reading the scriptures to find out what the actual relationship between human and creator. But you all try, you all have some sort of sense regarding of what your spiritual inclination is. But you should read. And Guy, if you would be on a different planet, you're probably processing what I'm saying right now. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to take the time. So when the Jews are asked to have a Sabbath every week, this is to take time to contemplate what life is all about, to leave making a living behind and contemplate. When the Muslims are asking to fast for a month every year, this is a directive to take time to contemplate, leave making a living aside and think within. When the Christians take Sunday, it's the same thing. Everybody should take time out to look within, to find out. So I would imagine this topic is an open-ended one. I would imagine that we should keep talking. I would imagine that everyone has some experiences that could be related. We need the dialogue to get going. We need the dialogue to keep going. We need to talk to each other. I'm looking here for a note that I wrote just before the presentation. We are all in the same boat, lifeboat that is. We have to help each other out to get to the shores safely. The shores of heaven, and that is our objective. We are told that what we live here now is a primary life, an initiation. We are just initiated to life. But life is a continuum, and death is temporary. Whether you sleep it off at night, whether you go through an experience like mine, whether you end your life as we know it with death, it is just temporary. Life is an ongoing thing. Death come and go. So the soul that we possess are the actual us. The body that we use is just the machine we use to communicate. When we leave this machine and go for death, quote unquote, we are promised that we're going to be resurrected. And here is the crux of my presentation. When you are going to be resurrected, it does not mean that you are going to retrieve the body that you left behind. The Egyptians were in the very wrong phase, trying to mummify the bodies. But what I expect to happen at the point of resurrection, that our souls are going to rematerialize from the earthly material that we left. When we leave our bodies behind, they are going to be recycled, whether it is cremated or buried or eaten by the marine life in sea, or as the Zoroastrians put the bodies in the mountains for birds to eat, or whatever. The bodies that we leave behind are recycled within the environment. When it is time for resurrection, I would submit that our souls are going to rematerialize from the surroundings of the environment to reshape us again into an eternal life. So the life that we live in has three phases. The primary life that we live now, the life beyond, and that's what the presentation is, that all what I had is just a glimpse into the beyond. And the life beyond is mentioned in all the scriptures, whether it is behind the purgatory, or in limbo, or behind the barzakh. In different languages, we are told here and there and everywhere that life is endless, and you and I are going to be held accountable for everything that we do. And then in the hereafter, we are going to join the universe into a universal life that is eternal.
Good luck on that.
And I leave you with that.
And I'll ask Netta, are you going to act as moderator for questions and answers? And
Yes, absolutely. So people can either raise their hand, and I'll try to watch you. I'll have you almost all on one screen. The screen holds 25, and there are 27 of you. Or you could use, I suppose, the reactions where you put your hand up. But just raise your hand, and I'll watch for you. Questions, please. Pat.
Hi, Sheikh.
Hey.
I have had a similar experience, which I won't describe at the moment, but I was wondering, this sense of being part of a greater spiritual life, did any of that come during your 3 months, or was that as you were kind of coming out of it that you learned?
Actually, I learned that throughout my life, reading the scriptures, and I'm mainly a Quran. Like, I mean, I read some of the Bibles and the Torah, and all some books and stuff, but the Quran for me has been neglected by the Muslims, by the Arabs, basically, because it is in their language. It has not been read. It has been chanted, sang, quoted, memorized, the whole thing, but I haven't met anybody that really divulged in the Quran to understand what is the message that was delivered. But as I read that over and over and over and over again, I can sense when Allah is saying that we created Adam and we blew from earthly material and we blew into him from our soul. We have, each and every one of us has part of that soul that was provided, that actually kicked in life. Like when Adam was created as a statue, just like many statues, but life came in when Allah breathed into him from his soul. And from there on came Eve, which has part of that soul, and from there on we all came. And even if that is metaphorical, because all the science is going in a different direction than just the Adam and Eve, it doesn't matter. You have to understand that we are living because life was breathed into us. by the Creator. And we have to help each other understand where we're going. Our leaders, all of them, are taking us in the wrong direction by telling us what they want or what they understand or whatever. The world is driven by the force that is between the need and the want. So we have to identify our needs and stay away from the want, because that's taking us into oblivion.
I'd like to make one other comment. I was in an airplane accident and
Oh my
a
God.
small craft that ended up, and I wasn't sure whether we'd live or die over the night. But I really found, as you said, the help of various professionals. And for me, what turned the corner was art therapy. And I've drawn various pictures of, and one of them, even just recently, this happened in 2001. And even recently, I was reminded of a picture I drew of us. My husband was beside me. We were in a very light plane. I was the pilot. And I had a picture of me, drew a picture of me, of us in a boat going across water. And I didn't know what that was about. And then there was these hooks that were coming to pull us back to shore, which, 4 hours after we had crashed, then people came to rescue us. And part of me didn't want to be dragged back. Part of me wanted to keep on floating with the one I loved. And I learned lately, and I'm not sure somebody here can tell me what religion that is, that you cross the water into the next life. It was really powerful.
Wow. Wow, Pat. Wow. Thank you for that. I'd like to know more about that. The Book of the Dead, yeah, Jeff. Well, for sure the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and in Greek mythology too, the river Styx and the boatman who you give the boatman a coin and he ferries you across the river. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Sheikh, you said that when you were falling, you saw the graves of your most close
Family, my
people.
family, yeah, deceased
This-
family, yeah.
So sometimes people say it wasn't my time, but you haven't used an expression anything like that. Do you have a feeling that that was not your time?
Oh, that's a given. That's a given. It just, as I said, whether we are predestined or we have a choice, but we have to live with the consequences of what was predestined.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm looking for hands. Anyway,
Sheikh,
Yeah,
can I ask something?
sure.
Where do you think we are going if we are all in the same boat, but greed pushes us to fight each other and kill each other?
And that's what I said, between the need and the want. People want a lot, and it's unjustified. The thing is, Allah says that you have to defy your own wants yourself. You have to control that. But where do I think we're going? That's
Yeah.
why I mentioned the word beyond. There is a whole world that is within us, and we are within it, that is beyond our concept of understanding or consciousness. And that's what we are going to break through into. That's why I mentioned the communication between myself and my deceased family, that they're just waiting. They're just waiting. There is no way of communication. And if you recall what I said, my dad didn't say anything. I was the one that was saying, I need my brain. But I think that was a prayer that was answered. And it is not answered by my deceased family. It's answered by heavenly presence.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
May I add that what you mentioned about the life between sleeping and death, you remember there is a quotation from the Quran
Mhm.
about this. الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها
Yes,
والتي لم تمت في منامها
yes,
فيمسك التي قضى عليها الموت ويرسل الأخرى إلى أجل مسمى.
yes. I am very familiar with that quotation. The thing is, just when you say something like that in a group setting, we have to translate it.
Yes,
But I will abbreviate it into
please.
Allah collects the souls when it goes to sleep.
Yes,
And the ones that are destined to die, he would hold the souls and don't let it go. But the ones that are destined to relive, they're going to re-inject the souls in it again so they can keep going.
thank you. Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, just
That's
for the rest, it's just all what we're saying, Hamdi and I, that really, if the Quran is read the way it should be read, like for me, it is a trilogy. The Torah and the Bible and the Quran are trilogy.
of
The
course.
Quran is the last one, and it is more concise. It is just an average size book, but it is loaded with expression that if you have to understand, or if you can understand, you would really understand what life is all about. The thing is, to understand the Quran, you have to read the Bible and the Torah and everything else
Exactly.
to shine some light on what you're reading. So if I tell you that I found snow blindness in the Quran, I read it in Egypt for how many years, it never came across to me like that. But when I came to Canada and I saw what snow blindness is, I experienced it. I read the Quran and then I found it right there in front of me. If I would tell you that September 11 events are narrated verbatimly in Surah 74, Al-Muddathir, you just have to read it. But then again, if you read it before the incident, it would make no sense whatsoever.
Of course.
If you need it after the incident, it will lay out to you that this was told 1400 years earlier. You can't do anything about it. It's a prophecy.
Sheikh, I
Yes.
wish every human being on earth is watching and listening.
Well,
to
I would
your
imagine this is recorded as Guy has promised and did, and I'm going to ask him how anybody can plug himself into.
Please.
And then the more important issue is this conversation should keep going. Maybe if the Interfaith Center wants to take it to NAN, which is the North American Interfaith Association, they are meeting in Chicago this year in July or so. But anyways, it's just this is the topics that could be discussed within the interfaith societies to come across as what are we doing and where are we going? How can we inform the newer generations into what do we leave them to? So all what I'm saying is, for the Interfaith Society of Edmonton, to figure out how to keep that discussion going, whether an open forum, an annual meeting, or an injection into NAN or whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. Yes, we will be posting this on our website, and we'll let people know when it's up. It usually takes us a couple of days for a guy to give it to our employee who does that. Does anybody else want to join the discussion, please? Junaid, anything to say? Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Junaid says, how is your physical condition these days, mobility, etc.? And then there's one more question. So we'll start with Junaid.
That's a good question. Junaid, and the others, I have regained all my faculties within 80% of what I was before the accident. And I was very healthy before the accident. But now the shortcomings are coming in my shoulder, who has been replaced, that I cannot raise my arm above shoulder level. And my right leg is not as strong as it used to be, so I'm favoring it all the time. There seemed to be a limp. But then again, all this has met my aging now that I'm 72.
Oh, that's right.
So I have to reason that my age is going to decline from here on. But I'm glad that this is only physical, not spiritual and not mental.
And also, Sheikh, we have people much older than us on this call. I'm not looking at anyone in particular, but I know we have a 90-year-old, for example. So age is nothing. It's just a number. And Jeff put a comment into the chat. I don't need to read it. It's good, and thank you, and everybody can read it for themselves. So there anybody else want to speak, please?
Just on that note, Neta, I would like to say to Junaid and others, I have reasoned that to keep going with whatever gift I had, I have to do practice 4 things on daily basis. I have to do physical exercise, social exercise, mental exercise, and spiritual exercise. I have to hold that balance, and I would suggest everybody at any age to hold these 4, because these are the legs that you can walk on into the future.
Yeah, I agree completely. Totally. Thank you. Anyone else?
Abba, would you like to say something? I haven't heard from you for some time. And coming from the Zoroastrian faith, I would like to hear what you have to say.
Ava, can you unmute yourself and say anything, please? I'm eating my lunch, sorry.
No, I think Ava is not. But Nick was a good addition to this. I haven't seen him for quite some time, and maybe we can rejuvenate. Guy, what do you think?
I think it's going well, and we've got a great audience, and we've had lots of participation so far with good questions. I understood that Len was interested in saying something, but I've poked him, but I don't see him commenting yet. So
I'm just wondering, with your experience, and so much of what we hear now is that the world has never been in this place right now, economically, pandemic, war. Do you feel fear, or do you feel confident? It's difficult you've had this accident and also the COVID. And so many people feel kind of like we have to keep going, but it's almost hopeless. Let's say the mass shootings in the US and so on and so forth. How are you seeing things right now?
Well, I am seeing things from a distance. The world is developing, has been developing since day one, but it is a cycle. And if we heed what we are being told, we are told in the scriptures, the world is going into oblivion. And what we see as development and civilization and this and that, it goes into two directions. The betterment and the other side of the coin. I mean, I just said that I attended a seminar by the Seventh-day Adventist Church about the end of the world. And they concluded that they are waiting for Christ to come back. And I walked away from the seminar saying, I'm not waiting for anybody to come back. I am, like, I mean, the Muslims are waiting for the Mahdi, the Buddhists are waiting for Buddha. I don't, you shouldn't wait. You should just observe what's going on and know that just like the dinosaurs has been eliminated and a new world started, our world is going to be eliminated, and all what is left of us is going to be in the spiritual side of the universe. The beyond that, we don't know what it is. At least that's how I see it, but I am not holding my breath for the world to correct itself. Like even if you talk about the global warming issue, we are told the world is going to vanish, and it's not life that's going to cease to exist. No, it's the world that we know of. So I can't tell when, but I know we are told this life that we are experiencing is going to end individually and collectively. So I just have to operate within my means, within my circles. And all what I'm saying is, I cannot do it by myself. We have to do it all together. We have to exchange knowledge into what we know. So at least when we go to bed at night, we know that we did try all what we could.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anyone else? We're about to start. We've got 5 more minutes. I do have to also run away right at 1 because I have, but that doesn't mean we have to end. Dawn, please unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. When you first mentioned it at some other meeting, interfaith meeting, I wanted to hear it. And I also want to hear Audrey's. I also want to hear Pat's. So I'm sure that you really have begun something. Just going back to what you recently said, I have certainly heard that the world as we know it is going to end.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, I've stopped watching the news pretty well because I just find it, what can I do about what's happening in Ukraine? I do what I can, but to help the people. But all of the terrible things that are going on, either in homes or the exploitation of corporations, how people are being abused in so many ways. How can we handle that in a positive way?
It's a very good question. And you do what you can to do within your means, within your vicinity, within all what you're given. But then again, there are limitations for everything, whether individually or collectively. And every person have their own stature in which they can operate within. Like, is Joe Biden doing what he could? Is Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, is doing what he could? Is it just everyone? But then at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you just think, did you do all what you can, or there's still some more? If there is still some more you can do, well, hope for the next day. If you did everything you could, well, pray for everybody.
That is very good and almost good words to end on. And yes, Audrey did put something in the chat that you can all read, that she has also had a terrible accident and something. My father, may he rest in peace, was the only survivor of a plane crash in the Second World War. And it had a profound effect on him. He was with the RAF and they were flying into Burma, and it's a very dramatic story of his rescue. It was in papers all over the world, and he certainly came home a changed man. And he was not religious in any sense, but he had to think about why was he the only survivor of that plane crash. It was a profound life, obviously life-changing event. So we do have a topic here that I think we want to do more with. Absolutely, the Interfaith Center. Is one of the big questions. Why are we born? Why are we?
I was expecting Farh, the new upcoming president, to join this, so she can pick up the ball and fly with it.
Yeah, she was here. She certainly was here. I think she's one of the people that just signed off in the last few minutes, our new president. Absolutely. You know, she's working from home. She might have had a meeting right at 1 or something, but she was here for most of it.
Good.
It is definitely a topic to pursue. Thank you so much. And I'm going to say goodbye. It's up to Guy when to formally end us. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much. And we'll let you all know, all of you whom we have contact with, have your email addresses. We'll let you know when it's on the website. And thank you, Sheikh. It was so amazing, and the things we think about all the time, but not ever enough. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I just hope I don't go through another experience to bring to bring to the.
And when you and Nicholas go for coffee, if it's in the university area, you could invite me too.
Oh, sure. Well, that will be good. Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
We'll do that. Yeah.
And at this point, I'll stop the recording and invite people to stick around and chat with one another as long as you wish. Thank you very much, Sheikh.
Oh, you're sure welcome. I'm glad that actually I came through somehow. I just needed